So you got to do something really special in science this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to St. John, which was in the Caribbean.
Where specifically in St. John did you go?
We went to this place called VIRS, which stands for Virgin Islands Environmental Resource Station. And it's kind of like a cross between a campground and a college campus.
It's related to the University of the Virgin Islands, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
So you went with a group, didn't you?
Yeah, I went with H2O, which is the environmental group that you founded, which stands for Healing Oceans Together.
And you guys worked hard to get there, didn't you?
Yeah, we did a year of crowdsourced funding, and we had a whole crochet coral reef thingamajig.
And it was actually an Indiegogo campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And you all spent a year studying ocean issues together, right?
Yeah.
So why did you all go to VIRS?
To study the coral reefs and their natural environments.
So what did you do when you were at VIRS?
Well, I did a ton of stuff, like we snorkeled in the sea, and we made a list of all the creatures we saw while we were snorkeling. We also went to see some of the experiments that some of the scientists were running. We took a tour around the greatest snorkeling bays. We also did a hike through the jungle and saw some nice scenic ruins, and also some ancient petroglyphs about bats. We also did some snorkeling in mangrove swamp, which is probably the only part that wasn't fun. I did not enjoy the mangrove snorkeling whatsoever.
Yeah, that was a long snorkel.
Yeah, and very hard.
Not the prettiest water.
Yeah.
But an important environmental place.
Yeah, you're right.
And one day we had a boat that took us out into more of the ocean, right? Instead of just snorkeling around the local bays.
Yeah, it took us around the local beach so we can snorkel that, and while we were doing that, we saw a sea turtle, and at some point it went really out in the open ocean by this huge rock that I wouldn't go snorkeling in, but everyone else was, and later everyone else told me that I made a good idea.
Yeah, this was the first time you've ever swum in the ocean, let alone snorkeled in the ocean.
Yeah.
But you did really well. I was really proud of you, hon.
Thank you.
And the water there was so beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, mostly, except for in the mangrove swamp and out in by the big rock.
And they had gorgeous beaches, right?
Yeah, and they had really nice palm trees, and they had a really beautiful jungle. It had a lot of scenic ancient ruins in it.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place. Yeah, well, that was a great trip. But what are you going to do now that you all have learned so much about the coral reefs?
Well, we're going to organize all the things we learned and all of the marine biology we saw, and then and we've been doing this some, it's not quite finished yet, we're trying to make them into making a card game that will help raise awareness to other people about the coral reefs and such.
Yeah, y'all have been working all year on making the cards, and now they're about ready to start doing some pilot testing with other kids this summer, right?
Yeah.
So that was really a fantastic project.
Thank you.
And you followed that up with an online class, didn't you?
Yeah. It wasn't quite as exciting as that. It was still informative. It was an online marine biology web seminars class.
It was a whole year long, right?
Yeah, doesn't have much to talk about it.
But you also did another really interesting science class this year, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what was that called?
It was called Big History, and it was about the general history of the universe.
Yeah, it went from the Big Bang to now, right?
More or less.
What all did you talk about in that class?
We talked about Big Bang, quantum physics, the invention of stars, nuclear chemistry, nuclear biology, where some of the first single-celled life came from, evolution.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting, and Miss Lucy did a great job with you all in that class, didn't she?
Yep.
And you did some fantastic lab classes down at the Museum of Natural Sciences, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was your favorite of those classes?
It's probably the gene splicing one.
And what did you do in that class?
I spliced the genes of a jellyfish and a type of bacteria to create a lovely glowing abomination of nature. It was really neat.
So math wasn't quite as exciting this year as science.
No, I didn't do really anything other than I did one thing, but it's not very exciting. It was the Think Well math class.
But your math is coming along really well, honey, so...
Really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And we did a little bit of Vedic math as well, didn't we?
Yeah, a little.
But it's hard. It's hard for anything to compare to going to the Virgin Islands to study the coral reef, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you have anything else to say?
No, not really.